What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Faithful Phanatics show live here on DSM-Media's Philadelphia YouTube channel. Guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure to do us a quick favor. Smash that subscribe button. It is the best spot to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up here on the screen with your host. I am one half of them this morning, Dylan Davis. To my right, my faithful co-host, Scotty. The Eagles and Howie Roseman continue to make noise early on throughout this free agency period and offseason period. Scotty trading for backup quarterback Kenny Pickett from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Very, very controversial move from Howie and the Birds over the weekend, as well as we got to discuss the Devin White signing last Thursday that we have not gotten into and give our thoughts there. Phillies opening day projection. Zach Wheeler gets the ball. Some lineup questions. What's going on in center field? We're going to discuss that. We finally get a Joel Embiid injury update and timeline potentially. We'll talk that. And brackets officially came out last night. We are running one here at DSM. We'll give you the information for that later on and maybe talk a little March Madness and bracket conversation later on in the show. But my man, happy Monday. And what is going on?
Happy Monday, brother. Hope you had a great weekend. Feeling good, man. Getting this week started off right. Getting back to the content, and we got a lot to talk about, man. It was a busy weekend, obviously, for the Eagles. We got Phillies baseball starting up soon. A lot of talk about the lineup, a lot of talk about any further additions that could be made, the Blake Snell rumor. And, another thing that's funny, I meant to say this to you before we hopped on here, but with like NBA, and this is just from my perspective as like kind of a casual baseball fan. I'm a Phillies fan, but I'm not really a baseball fan, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like, and so I would call myself a casual in that sense, but I saw ESPN's top 100 player rankings come out. And usually with the NBA, with the NFL, it's like this big, mess of like, oh my God, this player over this player. With the MLB, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not in the baseball communities to like see the arguments, but it feels like there were no like arguments on Twitter or anything about ESPN's top 100 players in baseball. So I took a quick look at it this morning. I just wanted to bring this to the table and ask you: is Bryce Harper? Do you think that there are 12 players better than Bryce Harper in the MLB? Because he came in at number 13 out of 100.
Yeah, no, I do not. And it's tough, right? Because if you're just talking, like you said, it is just a rankings list. And sure, when you're talking about the Ronald Acuna Juniors of the world, and
sure, are they including age?
Right, a healthy Mike Trout potentially.
They had Corbin Carroll ahead of
those guys. Yeah, that's just utterly fucking ridiculous.
That's the one that I had a problem with, but I get age.
But it's ridiculous, and I think moments matter. Like I said this to you before, when the lights are shining brightest, when you had the moments he's had in the postseason the last 2 years, there's not a single player I would take on the planet over Bryce Harper. So for my money, part of me says he's the best player on the planet. I know literally he's not better than Shohei Ohtani, right? Like I understand that, but like Ronald Acuna Jr. is some people's number 1, 2, 3. And the last 2 years, Bryce Harper has sent him home packing. Specifically like Bryce Harper, right? So, at times I think he's the best player in the world. The Corbin Carroll one's ridiculous. And then I saw they did their like position rankings. And since he has moved to first base now, Matt Olson is just not a better baseball player than Bryce Harper. Like you want to argue Freddie Freeman? We could talk about that. Matt Olson is not a better baseball player than Bryce Harper. I don't care what you say. I can't have that conversation with you. He's very, 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 very good, great first baseman. He's probably number 3, but he's not number 2 ahead of our number 3.
Yeah, they do. They do have Matt Olson, right?
Yeah,
right.
He's just not like I get it, right? He's almost 40 home runs. He's 100 110, 115. It feels like plus RBIs. He's in the middle of maybe the best lineup in baseball. I understand. He's not a better baseball player than Bryce Harper.
I don't see
wherever we got this idea is just ridiculous, because
I don't see
coming to Atlanta, Matt Olson wasn't even in the conversation, and now he gets put on the best team. He's excelling, but he's put on the best team, and now all of a sudden he's potentially the best first baseman in baseball.
It blows my mind to, how do you come away with that? I mean, I get it, age all included, whatever situation, but how do you come away from last postseason, these teams squaring off against each other, and you think that Matt Olson's better than Bryce Harper? I don't know.
Or 2 years ago when he sent them packing again, the first time when he had maybe the greatest historical postseason run any player has had, and then had the swing of his life to send his team to the World Series for the first time in over a decade and a half. You look at that dude and you go, you know what? Nah, I'd rather have Matt Olson on my bench. No, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Right, and that's the thing. Like, there's a lot more that comes with Bryce Harper than just like the numbers, right? He brings an aura, he brings a presence, and that just speaks to the dominance that he has.
Listen, I know we're kind of off to a funny start here, but I love the conversation because Bryce is very odd to me, and I don't because Bryce was and has been for the first decade or a little bit less than of his career, the LeBron James of the MLB. Bryce Harper was 16, 17, 18
Sports
years
Illustrated.
Old. Yes, like that hype, gets drafted by the Nats when he's 18, 19, plays his first game, I believe, when he's 19 years old.
Yeah.
And excels from the jump, winning home run derbies, doing it, just a superstar, had all that attention, lived up to the hype like LeBron lived up to that hype. And now he's doing even more in his career than he ever did with the Washington Nationals earlier in his career. And it's like he's getting pushed down the pole.
Recognition.
Yeah, it's very odd to me, man.
Do you think that because this turn in Bryce Harper's career where he went from the Nats to the Phillies was very interesting, right? Because the Nats win the World Series right after Bryce Harper leaves. Like, do you think that like tainted his like resume a little bit? Like, just that happening the way it happened? Like,
I think for maybe not tainted who he is
the
as
wrong
a player,
word,
but
taints the wrong word. Like, he's still a great ass player.
It is very confusing how you had a generational talent there in the middle of all these other guys, and you never were able to even reach the World Series or an NLCS before this. He leaves, signs a 13-year, $300+ million deal with your rival, and the very next year you go on and win. And it's like, there's probably people out there that go, oh, well, maybe he that had something to do with moving on and giving Juan Soto the reins there, but crazy, man. But we'll circle back around to the Phillies in a little bit. But speaking of crazy conversations, there's been a lot of back and forth on Eagles Twitter over the weekend. I know where we're going
with this.
And I stayed away from it because I don't fully understand the controversy of it all. Let's start with the first one, okay? That happened last Thursday. We obviously didn't get to a show Friday. Devin White.
Hope you're feeling better, by the
Devin
way.
White. Oh, yeah.
Hope you're feeling better, man. That stomach shit is going around.
We're all good. He signs the linebacker Devin White from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a 1-year, up to $7.5 million deal. Now, the up to is a very important part of this contract, of this tweet put out by Adam Schefter, because it's probably going to be heavily incentive-based, Scotty. And there were a couple Eagles beat writers out there that threw out their opinions and thoughts that the contract's probably more like 1 year, $3 million.
Yeah, I saw 3.5 million. John Barchard's tweet. He said 3.5 million.
Yeah, something around that ballpark. And then with the incentives of, production or if he even can play, right? Like maybe he works out through the summer and training camp, and the Eagles realize, well, maybe this dude can't start for us, and if he doesn't start and play amount of snaps, he doesn't get those incentives and those couple extra $1 million. So people were first freaking out about the money that they paid a guy that's declining, and people are loving to hang on to the fact that he got benched in Tampa Bay last year. Listen, Devin White is not kind to the calculators. Devin White is not great. Not great is a very nice word to put it against the run.
Yeah.
Devin White instantly becomes the Eagles' best linebacker.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care that he's not great against the run in Tampa Bay. I don't care. First of all, yes, he got benched last year. The dude's 26 years old. Maybe 27 if I'm mistaken. He's played 4 years in Tampa Bay. He's played 4 years of postseason football. He has a ring. In his rookie year, he came in immediately as a critical part of a championship defense and had 2 postseason INTs. The interception totals are there. The sack totals are there. He's an athletic machine. He runs sideline to sideline probably quicker than most other linebackers. I will take that upside. I will take that athleticism. I will take that. He's got some dog, it feels like, to him, Scotty. Yeah. He's got that toughness where he's just in Jalen Hurts' face constantly throughout the course of a big game in the postseason. And I will take that, and I will say that's the best thing the Eagles have had at linebacker in probably the last 5+ years. Okay? So you can argue all you want about the 7.5 million. It's not 7.5 million. You can argue about the run total. Well, listen, man, you want Nicholas Morrow back? You want Zach Cut? Were they they're better against the run? By all means, throw them back out there.
And I think
how about we have a linebacker
the run game
that
is
can
why
get
you
the
drafted. It's why you drafted 2 nose tackles.
Yes.
In the first round, back-to-back years. Like, that's why you did that, for the run game, right? Like,
correct.
All he needs to do is support the run game. He doesn't need to be the run game, right? And
right. He
I
doesn't
think that's
need to be blowing holes up.
And that's the thing. Like, I don't even think, like, obviously our linebackers, it's hard to say what our linebackers were last year. Like, obviously they could be better in all aspects of the game.
Absolutely.
But I feel like the passing game, right? The passing defense, being able to stay with the tight end, stay with the slot receiver, stay with wide receiver 4, right? I feel like those were the areas where the Eagles were getting absolutely torched. In the passing game and on defense. So if he can help in the passing defense, and the other thing I'll say, man, it's a 1-year deal. So like, I think people are going out and they're seeing like the Patrick Queen deals, right? Multi-year, 3 years, and then you got some of the other guys that have moved around. But I think the way how he's looking at this, one, you get Devin White, like you said, has the pedigree, has the resume. He's going to bring the most experience that we've seen in this linebacking core, and like you said, in quite a few years.
Yeah.
He presents upside for 1 year. If he plays out of his mind this year, you can sign him back. Like, and that's fine. If he doesn't, he's gone after this season. And I think the idea behind that, man, there's been a lot of talk about Cooper in the draft. There's been a lot of talk about a Jeremiah Trotter Jr. potentially in the second round or late first round, whatever the case may be in the draft. I think they're going to draft a linebacker early, man. I think the idea is to have a linebacking core, Nakobe Dean, Devin White, and then your first or second round pick linebacker. And I think the idea is that Devin White is here this year. Show this guy the ropes. Show him what he needs to do as like a starter in the NFL, all while giving yourself a shot at retribution, a shot at earning a role in a Super Bowl contender moving forward as far as the Philadelphia Eagles. And if it doesn't work out, you have your first or second round pick ready to go in his sophomore year. Ready to start. And I think that's the idea about it. You don't want to lock the money up multi-years in a linebacker right now. And we love Patrick Queen. Would we have been like banging the table of like, oh, get the fuck out of here. Why'd you get multi-years of Patrick Queen? No, not at all. We would have been happy as hell that we signed Patrick Queen. But I do get it. At the end of the day, the idea to just not put all that money into the linebacker position if you can find replacements for cheaper. And I think if we are ultimately going the Devin White route, $3.5 million is all that's guaranteed. It's a cheaper deal, a deal with potential value there, a peak value, I guess you would say.
It's low risk, extremely high reward.
Exactly. And so when you do that, there's a Justin Simmons still out there, right? Like you can still go out there and spend that money elsewhere, bring a veteran into your secondary, which I think was the bigger problem last year, if we're being honest. Like our pass defense was horrible. The run defense got tore apart towards the end of the season, but the pass defense was horrible all season. And so I just think safety, I think the secondary is just a bigger priority ultimately. And I think the way Howie is planning to put these resources, I feel like the signs are there. Now, we get to the draft and he doesn't address the linebacker position. Yeah. Then there's a little bit of a problem there because what is after Devin White? Like we do have to look into the future a little bit. But that's what I'm saying. If they bring back Zach Cunningham on top of Devin White with Nakobe Dean and then draft a linebacker,
he signed the linebacker from San Fran. He signed from San Fran.
Owens.
Owens? What? Yeah.
Let me
I don't
look it
know.
up. Let me get the name right here.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know. That could strictly be a special team / depth move. I
Oren
don't know.
Burks. Oren Burks.
There it is.
Linebacker.
So yeah, and they already went out and got the first kid Ballin as a depth piece kind of special.
And I
team.
think
so
they said
he's building a little bit of a room there, but it's like there's not much that stands out in that room so far besides Devin White.
I saw something that Oren Burks played with like Zach Cunningham in like Houston or in college or something. So there's a connection there. But no, you're right. And I think, man, all you have to do is like when we look back to our Super Bowl season, right? Like when we won the Super Bowl, who were our linebackers? Nigel Bradham? Like, was he our best linebacker, would you say?
Michael Kendricks was here
Michael
still, right?
Kendricks. They were like Kendricks Jordan was kind of like a head case, I
Jordan
guess.
Hicks was hurt. Yeah.
Jordan Hicks was he was the best one when he was healthy, but he wasn't healthy for the run.
No.
So it was like I feel like Nigel Bradham was the guy laying the wood in the Super Bowl at least. He was kind of the leader there. And that's my point. It's like Nigel Bradham wasn't this like superiorly talented like football player, but he'll put a helmet on someone.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody that's going to come in, play physical, play fast, play aggressive, play confident. Like that's what we need. We need somebody that can get a tackle in the backfield and then give us a nice, celebration that can get the team pumped up. Like they need that guy with that type of confidence.
The toughness.
In the
exactly.
Like I think
they just haven't had that. Yeah.
Like if he gets in the backfield and blows up a quarterback for a sack, we're going to be pretty fucking excited about this guy, right? And that's what the thing is, we've gotten a chance to see Devin White against the Eagles quite a lot, man. Like playoffs, right? Like we've seen him, like I swear we've seen him in the playoffs at least 2 in the last 3 years, but maybe 3 times in the last 5 years, right?
2020, we played when we lost to them in Jalen's rookie year, and then obviously this past year, someone literally put up like a still shot of him like in Jalen's face, chasing him down, and Jalen throwing off his back foot because he was right there. Yeah, man.
And we got a Bond from
Jack Bond, New Orleans. Yeah.
Don't know a ton about these guys, but
no, I think
taking shots in the dark, man. Like that's what you have to do sometimes. Like you have to give yourself grace in other areas if you're trying to
thing, man.
Extend Smitty and give all these other guys money, right?
Here's the other thing. Like you brought up the Patrick Queen thing with Pittsburgh. And don't get me wrong, I think we all would have been on board with Patrick Queen.
We would have been ecstatic
with a 3-year deal. I need Eagles fans, okay? Please, guys. I need you to stop thinking that just because Howie doesn't sign a guy doesn't mean he didn't look into it. Maybe it just means someone didn't want to play here. Like people had this idea in their head when they see Patrick Queen get a cheap deal, but we signed Devin White. Well, why wouldn't Howie do that? Maybe Patrick Queen wasn't interested in coming to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to talk about Kenny Pickett in a second. Why didn't we trade for Justin Fields? They gave up a 6. Oh, did you see what the follow-up was?
Yeah.
Justin Fields wanted to go to Pittsburgh if he was being moved.
They didn't want to come.
The Bears allowed him.
Jalen Hurts.
The Bears honored him by doing that. Okay.
Smart move by him.
Like, guys, everyone just thinks that just because a free agent signs a team-friendly deal that Howie Roseman wasn't in on it or didn't check it out and signed somebody else that's not as good for worse money and a worse deal. And why wouldn't not everybody wants to come to Philadelphia? It's an attractive place. You hear CJ Gardner-Johnson, you hear Saquon Barkley talk about the culture that's been built and how an 11-win season was a down year for the Eagles, and Saquon can't wait to be a part of that. Yes, some guys feel that way, and that's great.
Yeah.
Not every single player in the NFL is open to coming to Philadelphia once they hit free agency. And I need everyone to just fucking calm down when it comes to stuff like that. Devin White better than Patrick Queen? No. Okay, he's not at all. It's a 1 year, like you said, probably sub $4 million deal with incentives. Low risk, high reward. He's the most athletic, tough, hard-hitting linebacker who has more experience in big games and more hardware on his finger than any of the linebackers we have had on this Eagles team in the last couple of years. So I'm glad that Devin White is an Eagle, okay?
He had the most potential like he has the highest peak value, right, out of all of the free agent linebackers left. Like you can argue that some guys may be, better on a day-to-day basis, like consistency. But when you talk about peak value of what a linebacker can give you, I feel like Devin White was the one left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is another one, Martian. How about when we signed Saquon Barkley? Those same people that are probably upset that Jerome Baker isn't an Eagle are the same people that talked about Saquon Barkley having injury concerns. It's just ridiculous, man. It really is. So let's talk about the big issue over the weekend, Scotty.
Yeah.
Howie Roseman pulls one out of his ass and goes out and trades with the Pittsburgh Steelers for Kenny Pickett. Now, the Eagles gave up a third-round draft pick for this. They gave up the 98th overall pick for Kenny Pickett. No, the Eagles did not trade straight up a third-round draft pick for a backup quarterback in Kenny Pickett. It was Kenny Pickett and a pick swap. The Eagles moved from like 98 to like 122nd, something like that, for a Steelers fourth rounder. Listen, I'll preface it by saying you and I have talked about Kenny Pickett a lot on Turf Talk and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah. I'm not a Kenny Pickett guy. Okay. I don't think Kenny Pickett is a starter in this league. I think Kenny Pickett is very limited. All right.
Yeah.
You are getting a young backup quarterback on a cheap 2-year rookie deal. Yeah. You make this trade 100 times out of 100 if it's available. Look, if Jalen Hurts goes down for an extended period of time, if Jalen Hurts goes down towards the postseason and can't play in the playoffs, forget it. It doesn't matter who the backup is.
Yeah.
But if Jalen Hurts goes down in preseason and can't play the first 2 games of the regular season, or Jalen Hurts is going to miss weeks 4 and 5, I think Kenny Pickett is serviceable enough with this surrounding cast to step in and win you a football game.
A game. And that's the big caveat.
We had Gardner Minshew here 2 years ago.
A game.
0-2 with him being a starter. We signed Marcus Mariota last year.
Yeah.
Marcus Mariota just signed for
like $7 or $8 million, right?
He just signed for 6.5 somewhere else last week.
Couldn't
Did
win
anyone want Marcus Mariota on a football field this past year?
Hell no.
No.
But then I see people saying they would take Mariota over Pickett. It's just ignorant. Like there's no when you can say that you would take Pickett over Mariota without the financials involved, but the financials make it like dumb easy of a decision. Yeah. Like, I agree with everything you said, and I think that's the big caveat. It's like we're not trading for Kenny Pickett to potentially take Jalen Hurts' reins down the road. Like that's not the goal here. The goal is for when Jalen Hurts twists his ankle, right, has to miss 2 games. Can Kenny Pickett get you one of those 2 games just by being a game manager for the Philadelphia Eagles with all the talent around him? And I think the funniest thing, man, and once again, like you said, we talked on Turf Talk about the Steelers all season. They were horrible to watch.
Right.
But and to be clear, like you said, we're not Kenny Pickett fans by any means. We didn't
Mason
see
Rudolph
anything
came off
there.
The bench and outplayed him with the same shit play calling and supporting cast.
Did people not complain about Canada as the offensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers all season, right? Like the dysfunction of the offense in general, the lack of talent in the offense. You have guys like George Pickens. He has a ton of talent. He's a head case. Like, is he connecting with Kenny Pickett and making him comfortable and stuff?
Right.
No, they're 2 rookies that were learning.
They literally just had to trade Deontay Johnson because he was a problem with George Pickens.
Like, I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers offense is like this well-oiled machine that Kenny Pickett could step into and just be successful as a rookie or a sophomore quarterback.
In the first 2 years, and he was only a sophomore quarterback.
The way I look at it, man, he's been in the league for 2 years. He's been with a dysfunctional offense, a dysfunctional coaching staff. Yeah. You come into the Eagles offense, you're going to get to learn behind Jalen Hurts. You're going to get to learn from Kellen Moore, an experienced offensive coordinator that's worked with Dak, worked with Justin Herbert, now working with Hurts, and going to be able to work with Pickett.
Right.
And aside from all of that, if he ever has to step on the field, He's going to be with Saquon Barkley, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert, and whoever else you want to name on the offense.
Exactly.
It's different. Like, it's just different. And we can't sit here and compare, like you said, Kenny Pickett to Justin Fields. Yes, we all would have traded the 4th round pick for Justin Fields instead of, like, we would take Justin Fields instead of Kenny Pickett as a backup. He didn't want to do that. And why would he? Why would he want to come to Philadelphia?
Right. Because the Russell Wilson window.
Jalen Hurts.
Right. The Russell Wilson window in Pittsburgh, even if Justin Fields doesn't win the job, even if he doesn't play all year, the Russell Wilson window in Pittsburgh could be this. The Jalen Hurts window in Philadelphia is this.
Yeah.
So why would he favor coming to a place he's never going to have a chance at getting a job at, to a place that just traded probably for 1 year of Russell Wilson that another team's paying 95% of his salary on?
And that's the thing.
See what they can do.
Fields, for all we know, Fields could have a chance to start in Pittsburgh if he beats Russ out. Like, if he comes out and just outplays him. Russ is on like a $1.2 million contract with Pittsburgh, right? Like, the minimum, right? He's expendable at the end of the day for Pittsburgh. If they really want to see what Fields has and they feel like they can go that route, Fields has a chance to start. There was no chance in Philadelphia.
And I would say this, listen, man, am I going to go so far as to say that Justin Fields isn't better than Kenny Pickett? No. But I do honestly believe, Scotty, that a lot of people's issue with not trading for him and Kenny Pickett is simply because of the similarity in his and Jalen's games. And maybe you don't have to tinker with the offense. Those people definitely do not recognize that Kenny Pickett is athletic. Kenny Pickett can move. He's not Jalen Hurts. He's not Justin Fields. Kenny Pickett can move. It's not Gardner Minshew. They will not have to. He's a better version of Marcus Mariota at this point of Marcus Mariota. Like, everyone thought, oh, Mariota with his legs, he could play. Kenny Pickett is a more athletic version of a Marcus Mariota at this point.
Like, Mariota's fast, right? But he's just so out of control, man. Like, that was a bit. It was like he was moving 1,000 miles per minute.
Definitely do not know that Kenny Pickett can move a little bit and get outside the pocket and use his legs. So there isn't.
That's why I did like the trade
drop off. Yeah, there is not a big drop off from styles of play. He's not. Like, again, is he going to be running the read option like Jay? No, you're not getting that. But in
like,
terms
let's
of
be
what
honest,
you can do
like,
in the passing offense.
Outside of that Buffalo game last year, I mean, Hurts wasn't this like super mobile quarterback like Justin Fields. Like, he's closer to like a Kenny Pickett that running is going to be the second option. Maybe you do, the tush push, obviously, but no, it's interesting the reception to it. Like, it's a rookie quarterback, like not a rookie quarterback, but a quarterback on a rookie deal.
With 2 more years left.
Former first round pick? What was he, top 20, top 10? Like, I can't even remember what number he was. But
he
was top 10, right? Maybe top 20.
I believe so. Definitely top 20, I believe. But
I think that alone, like, he's 2 years into his career. That alone is
and I'll tell you this:
trading down 20 spots in the draft. Like,
Nick Foles doing what Nick Foles did, and going on that magic carpet ride of a postseason and bringing this city our first championship, first Super Bowl, I should say, is a blessing and a curse. Because on one hand, it's one of the greatest days of my life, and it was one of the best things to ever happen in Philadelphia sports. And on the other hand, it has completely fogged up and tainted what a backup quarterback is in the city of Philadelphia and to some of our fan base. Because people are looking for this backup as if Jalen Hurts goes down in the postseason, the backup needs to be able to step in and kind of keep the ship straight and still attempt to win a Super Bowl. Man, it doesn't fucking happen. It's a reason it's such an outlier in NFL history, man. It doesn't
your
work.
$50 million quarterback goes down, your team is going down with him, man. Like, that's life.
And they have this idea. So I think for the people like you and me that are good with the deal, and the people that aren't have two different visions of what the backup needs to be. My backup quarterback needs to be able to win a game or two if Hurts misses a couple weeks in the regular season. Their backup needs to be able to take them on a championship run. Yeah. And that's just not fucking feasible. Like you said, after you've paid Jalen Hurts now.
Yeah. You had Nick
after you
Foles
did
when
that
Carson
already.
Wentz was on a rookie contract.
Yes.
By the way.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So it is interesting, man. You're right though. The Nick Foles thing. It is completely. This is the appropriate time to use the word taint. It's tainted our experience, our perception of the roster, man. Because at the end of the day, this is a backup quarterback.
Yep.
It's a backup quarterback. And honestly, like last year, we tried the Marcus Mariota thing, right? Like we tried to bring him in after we let Gardner Minshew go and explore free agency. And it kind of bit you. It was a waste of money, man. You could have went with Tanner McKee last year as a backup quarterback, and you wouldn't have lost anything compared to Marcus Mariota. It wouldn't have been a difference.
I would argue that they've tried the other way the last couple of years.
They have.
Okay, the last couple of years, you went from the Super Bowl year on. You went.
Minshew threw for 300 yards and lost both games.
But I'm talking like from a veteran perspective. You went from Nick Foles later on in his career. You brought in Josh McCown late in his career. You had Joe Flacco late in his career. You had Marcus Mariota and Gardner Minshew a little later in their career. And outside of the Nick Foles carpet ride, the veteran presence has not paid off when needing someone to win a game. Now he goes younger, cheaper. Yeah, now people see Flacco in Cleveland. And go, oh, you see? Listen,
look, backup quarterback.
Look around the league and find me a situation where you could look at a team and say they have a backup quarterback that could continue their path to a Super Bowl if their starter went down.
Off the top of my head, man.
I can answer it. There isn't one. There is not one.
Yeah.
If Patrick Mahomes goes down,
no.
Are the Kansas City Chiefs competing?
No.
Joe Burrow goes down in Cincinnati. Do they have a shot in hell?
No.
If Lamar goes down, do they have a chance when Tyler Huntley was there? Aaron Rodgers went down the first 4 plays. Did they ever have a chance with the carousel of quarterbacks they brought in?
No. The only
there isn't a situation.
The only one that I feel we could argue, and this would be a funny reception, but San Fran, I think that's the only one that you can argue. And I think even that one's taking it a little too far. Yeah, even that one's taking it a little too far, I would say. Like, are they winning a Super Bowl without Brock Purdy? Like, no, they're not. And we saw that 2 years ago.
They're not winning a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy, but
no, that was just me being funny. But yeah, I don't think there's another situation because there's teams with, decent backup quarterbacks or better backup quarterbacks, but their team isn't that good.
Right.
So like if the backup quarterback steps in, it's still like probably not as good as even Kenny Pickett in an Eagles offense. But I mean, the ruling's out. He's a developmental quarterback at this point. Like I can accept that as well. Like I can be real about that as well. But I think acting like Justin Fields and Kenny Pickett aren't both just completely raw talents as far as what they've done in the NFL so far. They both got thrown into the fire and they both kind of came out unsuccessful. And that's just the truth of both situations right now.
Absolutely.
So to sit here and act like, Justin Fields is on like some higher elevation plane. Like I get it. Like people talk about him higher, right? He has the explosiveness with his legs, but really as a passer in the league, like what has he really done in the NFL?
Chase Daniel has probably made him and Sam Bradford have probably made the most amount of money in NFL history as guys
with the least amount of games
touch the football field.
Yeah.
And they went that direction before, man. Like they've done it all.
Yeah.
And again, outside of the literal only exception probably in NFL history.
Yeah.
Nick Foles wins a Super Bowl here on that playoff run. So it doesn't happen. We definitely have different visions of what a backup quarterback is supposed to accomplish.
Yeah.
He's cheap. He's young. He's a Philadelphia Eagle fan. He's from Pennsylvania, went to Pitt. Like, it's fun. Now, the interesting thing I think here is they moved him so quickly because of how he was apparently acting once they brought in Russell Wilson. So my question is, if he wasn't happy with Russell Wilson being here for possibly a year and competing there, he's definitely not competing here. So what is young Kenny Pickett's mindset when he is here in Philadelphia? And if you're obsessed about the 98th overall draft pick, man, I don't know what to tell you. Like, they didn't give up the 98th overall draft pick. Yeah. They moved down a handful of spots and got a backup quarterback for 2 years with it. Like, it's a trade you make 1,000 times out of 10.
If I tried to explain why Kenny Pickett would be more comfortable being in Philly, it would just be a culture thing, man. Like, that's the only thing that I could explain is that
and coming in here, point,
being around Jalen Hurts,
any truth to that, right? What seriously could have happened is that Pittsburgh caught wind that Justin Fields would like to play in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So they said, let's get Kenny the hell out of here and bring like that was already made up.
Fair enough.
As well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, yeah, no, and that makes sense as well. And I do just want to say, like, what the hell is Howie Roseman saying to some of these guys to get them to want to come here so bad? Like, CGJ was beyond excited to get back here.
Yeah.
Huff had some great things to say about coming to Philly and what he talked to Howie Roseman and company about. And they restructured Josh Sweat, so he's staying.
Yeah, that was the next thing, man. That was how surprised were you?
I was very surprised, given his comment on IG. It felt like he felt like he was going to be out the door. But do you think that that's like a sign for Hassan Reddick, or do you think that they both could end up staying at this point?
I honestly think they're both coming back, man. I think if Howie doesn't pull anything by night number 1 of the draft with Hassan Reddick, that he's not going anywhere, and he's definitely.
And I think they want to be
here. I did see, I believe it was Joe Castro. You know Joe. He had tweeted after the Josh Sweat extension that Hassan Reddick is next or something. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I saw that tweet. So it's like maybe there are whispers that Howie is reworking both of them and can get both of them back, which I think is huge, Scotty, because I think to our point of how excited we are with Bryce Huff coming in, 10 sacks last year, and kind of somewhat of a limited role in New York, being a rotational piece where he could come in here and be a true starting edge rusher, playing a lot of snaps for this defense. I think Bryce Huff looks a lot better surrounded next to Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick and everybody else.
Yeah.
It might not quite hit the same if it's Josh Huff is the lead role. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I really, really want Hassan Reddick to be an Eagles.
You said Josh Huff.
Season. Sorry. Bryce Huff, Josh Sweat. You know what I'm saying?
A demon from our past, Josh Huff. But no, I do feel you. And I think what it does, like, even if you don't get something like restructured or get Hassan Reddick extended, it gives you the insurance policy going into next season. You can let Hassan Reddick play out this year if he wants to, if you need to do that. If you can't get anything figured out with an extension, then you have your succession plan for next year, right? Like we talked about it on Wednesday's show last week, I believe, but you spoke about how Bryce Huff is on the same side, generally speaking, as Hassan Reddick. So maybe that is the idea. But I think that we get too caught up, like as a fan base, I think we get too caught up with just an idea, like an option. And it doesn't mean that that's the only option. It doesn't mean that Howie Roseman won't change his mind. It doesn't mean that Hassan Reddick won't change his mind when it comes to these negotiations. By the time we get to August, football's ramping up. These guys are getting excited to get back on the field. Doesn't mean that things won't change. So Hassan Reddick's number right now might not be his number in August, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the simple truth, man. And I think that's what happened with Sweat.
Yeah. No, I think so as well. And I think, I think we've seen this kind of the last couple of years, like Fletcher Cox, right? Like what was it, the last offseason or 2 off seasons ago? Last offseason, right? When we released Fletcher Cox.
Yeah.
And then like a week later, Fletcher Cox restructured kind of his plan with Howie Roseman. It's like Howie has a way of getting his guys back. The last thing I'll say Eagles-wise here before we move on, this offseason has made me even more confused as to what happened at the end of last season.
Yeah.
Because if you have these stars, you have these players that are coming here and they're talking about winning on Sundays, and that's what they've been seeing the Eagles do. Well, clearly they don't put too much stock into the last 7 or 8 weeks in the playoff game in Philadelphia. And then I thought, well, maybe it's the head coach. It's the culture. That's what we talked about. Nick lost his locker room. No one showed up for him. But all they continue to talk about is the culture.
Yeah.
So what in the blue hell happened?
Yeah.
If the culture is still there and imprinted in that locker room,
yeah,
and it's not a talent issue and head coach issue on the field, what the hell happened? Because these guys don't have a problem with the last 7 or 8 weeks because Philadelphia wins on Sundays, and they evidently don't have a problem with the head coach or the leadership environment because they were more than happy to come be a part of this organization. So very, very odd to kind of see
it just
how things shake up over the next couple of months and to start next season.
It just makes me think, like, when you look at what really happened, obviously in the moment, it's going to be hard to stomach a collapse like that.
Yeah.
But like, when you think about it holistically, include the season before, the Super Bowl hangover, losing both of your coordinators, right? Like, it feels like things just got too tough for this team down the stretch. It feels like they were tired, injured down the stretch, and it's an excuse at the end of the day. These are excuses, and I'm sure none of these guys are sitting here trying to gather excuses for what happened last year. But I think as fans and observers, we are going to sit here until next season when we see the product they put on the field. We're going to sit here and we're going to question, we're going to wonder why this happened. And I think more and more it points to the fact that we just made some really bad decisions on the coordinator selections, right? Defensive and offensive coordinators. At the end of the day, we should have brought in more experienced coordinators. You have Nick Sirianni. He's an underexperienced head coach. Even with going to the Super Bowl in his second season as head coach, he's still lacking experience. And he needed some more experienced guys to come in and replace his original select.
And I think that kind of, I don't want to use the word blessing in disguise because I still have questions about what Nick does and can do if he's not a play caller.
It's not
but
to say
it was eye-opening. It was one of those things where it answered the question. Okay, Nick Sirianni, not a play caller, not a play designer.
Yeah, that is fair.
So you had to pigeonhole him in this very niche part of head coaching where he is just the manager of it all. The players guy, the rallier, that kind of head coach, and you bring in the creative kind of Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore, where, hey, this is my side of the ball, that's yours. Nick can kind of oversee everything, but he doesn't really touch things because last year, like you said, you bring in that inexperience and heads are rolling, and this dude's not meant to be on either room calling shots and designing plays. So,
and that is the one
very, very interesting
with Kellen Moore, right? Like, if he comes out, he's probably gonna. I mean, he's gonna do better than Brian Johnson, I would imagine, right? Just given off what I've seen from the Chargers, the Cowboys. So, like, how long is Kellen Moore gonna be here? That's the worry that comes with just like
is this another Super Bowl run and Kellen Moore gets that recognition as a head coach somewhere like Shane Steichen? It is interesting, but what the one thing I was thinking about over the weekend, Scotty, and we're sitting here talking about Kellen Moore, is like, I feel like there was a decent amount of people, myself kind of included, like, okay, when they signed Saquon Barkley, a little odd because of how Kellen Moore likes to operate through the air. And obviously we believe that Nick and Jeffrey and Howie organizationally want to throw the football.
Yeah.
But then you hear that Kellen Moore wanted Saquon Barkley because it fits his offense. I find that interesting, man. And I can't wait to see it because I think people have this idea that Kellen Moore is just going to run the ball like 13 times a game. And I don't think so. I'm not saying he's going to give him the ball 26 times a game out of the backfield, but I think he might give him the ball 19, 20, 21 times a game and throw the ball to him 5 or 6 times a game.
Yeah.
And that is plenty of touches.
I just think it's one of those things, like, if you were an offensive coordinator coming into the offense and you ask yourself, like, how can I start to fix this offense just personnel wise? Yeah. And I think the one big thing with our run game last year was, and it's not necessarily the run game, it's really just our running back room last year, was that DeAndre Swift can't pass block. And that's
for sure.
That's the big thing with DeAndre Swift. And so when you have a player like that is so talented, right, when he can run the football, or when the ball is in his hands,
Yeah.
but he can't protect your quarterback, which is, I don't know, what, number 2 or number 3 thing the running back should be doing outside of like making plays with their legs. But I think it just makes your offense obvious. And I think it makes it, you can't disguise anything when you're putting Kenny Gainwell out on passing downs and taking Swift off the field on passing downs. Like, it makes your offense obvious. You can't disguise anything. And I think that is kind of like the first step when a guy like Saquon Barkley is available.
Yeah.
Let's go out here and get this guy, right? Like, we're going to have a true 3-down back.
I'm also super, super interested to see just the overall style and makeup of the offense under Kellen Moore, because is it truly Kellen Moore's offense, or is it Nick's style? Because you talk about the style of runner Saquon is, are we still going to be every play outside of a tush push is going to be ran out of the gun?
Right.
Is Saquon going to be getting, delays and read options over and over again? Or is Jalen going to learn to get under center a little bit more, turn, bang, Saquon hits a hole with a running start. Then, what comes from that, and I wish we could see it more with our athletic mobile quarterback. You know what comes off of that, Scotty? Oh, bootlegs. You don't think that'd be an interesting part of this Eagles offense with Jalen's dual threat ability? No, it seems fucking crazy, I know, but we just don't want to run it. And I'm interested to see kind of if that was a Nick Sirianni kind of decision, or if Jalen just isn't comfortable getting the ball from under center. But you better learn, bro. And not just that. How are you comfortable taking a tush push snap from under center and going right into the line of scrimmage with it? Like, I don't know. I don't know if it's footwork, recognition, whatever it is. I'm interested to see if they change anything.
No, I agree.
From that perspective, and how he manages the offense this year, man, and how much control he has out on the field. But we'll be circling back around to Eagles talk throughout the course of this offseason, man. With
big bounce back year coming from the Birds, man. You can see it already. Obviously, they're doing their thing in free agency. Don't even think they're done in free agency. I mean, there's guys like Justin Simmons still out there, man.
Bro, did you see the cap number?
Connection is there. Yeah, I don't know if that's Go ahead.
They have the 5th most cap this season.
I saw, like $39 million, right? And I don't understand if like contracts haven't been subtracted yet, or like what that number is. Because like I've seen 39 million, and then I've seen like 22.5 million.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what the real number is. Even if it's 22.5.
Still,
still a lot of money. That's enough to go out and get a Justin Simmons, right? So I think those are the goals. Like, somehow get another safety, or if you can find another linebacker maybe available via trade, and then you can use your draft comp to get a safety in the draft, whatever the case may be there. I think a linebacker, safety, one more of those, in free agency or trade, and then the Smitty extension. I think those are your priorities right now at this point, because, I mean, it feels like we've covered a lot of bases.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean? It feels like we've covered a lot of bases already with free agency, and we still have the entire NFL draft to fill some more vacancies and to build some more.
And that's also another controversial part of Eagles of this organization.
And we also got Kellen Moore and
how he's got to hit. Yeah, there's
2 of the most experienced coordinators, respectfully.
There's a lot of change, man. And I think, unlike last offseason, like you said, experience is the key word. You've gone out and you've gotten experience. But with this experience, they've also become extremely younger, Scotty.
Yeah.
I saw a tweet the other day. The Eagles are now, is it 7th with an average of like 26 and a half years old or something like that?
Yeah.
It's crazy where you've kept
Flex
this.
And Kelsey helps that number a lot.
That brings the average down. Definitely brings the average age down. But
it's crazy we can feel like this after the season we just had, man. And I think that speaks to Saquon's comments as well about the 11-6 season being a down year at this point.
Yeah.
It's crazy that we can feel this.
I think that Howie has gone out and made a statement this offseason. Because if he would have sat on his hands and kind of went through the same old walk of, I don't pay running backs, I don't invest in linebacker. He keeps to his core and he keeps with the trenches. And I think I would not be a happy Eagles fan right now.
Yeah.
I think he went out and made a statement of, okay, look, last year took a wild turn in the second half. Don't get it twisted. We are still a Super Bowl contending team. And this window is not just 1 year, it's multi-years. And he went out and made splashes that gets this team back at the top of the NFC, back at the top of the NFC East, and to push forward this coming season.
It is interesting, man. Like everything you said, and then this point right here as well. It's like I guess it's easy to look across to the division at Dallas. I have to ask myself, I have to ask people out there, how is Dallas in the situation that they're in right now? They haven't even paid CeeDee Lamb or Micah Parsons yet. But the Eagles, like, does Dallas have that much talent to where their money should be spread out that much more?
They're in trouble, bro. They're not.
It's interesting. And the Cowboys aren't the only example. It's just the one across the way in the division. There's other teams out there where it's just like, how the hell did you get in this situation? And it speaks to Howie's excellence at the end of the day. Like, it blows my mind still. And I imagine it blows other GMs and owners' minds as well, what he's able to do with contracts and such. But it is weird, man.
The Saquon deal is the perfect example. Oh my God, he gave $15 million a year to Saquon. Really?
Right.
Because we're trying to win a Super Bowl this year, and Saquon's cap hit is less than $4 million this year. So that's pretty crazy. But we'll see what happens.
How did we get Saquon Barkley? What
I know, I know, dude. I know. And then you see him at like Penn State.
It was possible going into the.
You see him at like Penn State's pro day, and he's got his kid like all dressed up in Eagles gear, and he's got an Eagles hoodie on, and I'm just like, fuck yeah, dude. Like let's run it, bro. Like you want to talk again? We got to move on, but you want to talk difference maker. Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
Everyone gets we talked about this before, but everyone pays so much attention to the title, to the position. Running back. Oh, they paid a running back. No one pays running backs this day and age. It's not the position. It's the type of player.
Yeah.
It's the difference maker. It's the game changer. Yeah. It doesn't matter if he's a tight end, a wide receiver, or a running back. He's going to touch the ball a lot and impact winning and this offense. James Franklin has accomplished nothing in Penn State. I don't know how he still has a job. Loses every big game in the Big Ten possible. And then does this, and Saquon has to come out in his first interview introducing him as an Eagle, and has to basically say, no, my old head coach messed up or got the information wrong there, and then had to probably go see him at the pro day and be like, dude, like here's the thing, even if you got the information, even if you knew it was 1,000% true, right? Like even if that was 1,000% true, because you're not just hurt, like whether I don't even know like why you would have beef with the Eagles. But why hurt Saquon? Because that's just as bad on Saquon as it is the Eagles. And I just love the whole, again, I know we got to move on, but I love the whole, the Eagles and
tampering
with Atlanta with Kirk Cousins. They're being the ones targeted for tampering.
Yeah.
DeAndre Swift signed a 3-year deal with the Chicago Bears 48 seconds after 12 o'clock. Saquon Barkley didn't become an Eagle until 3 p.m.
Make that make sense.
Kirk Cousins even later. Like, I don't understand. That's what I'm saying, bro. Like, what are you talking about? That the Eagles are in trouble for tampering.
It's hilarious,
Swift's not. And it's the rules. I get it. They said that Saquon had direct contact. It would have gone through Swift's agent. That's how you get in trouble for tampering. What fucking difference does it make if there's a middleman? You can talk to their agent can relay the message to the player, and the player can give a message back to the agent for the team. But Howie Roseman can't call Saquon and just give him whatever message on it. What difference does that make, bro?
You know what I wonder if it is? I wonder if it's just the Giants like being petty, the Vikings being petty, and trying to push this forward, whereas the Eagles aren't, right? Like the Eagles aren't worried about that with Swift. Like I do wonder how much of that goes into it, right? Or maybe maybe it's just the GMs and owners being jealous.
This is the vision I have in my head. So here's what's legal and illegal when it comes to the tampering period, okay? Howie Roseman calls up Saquon's agent. Phone goes on speakerphone. If the agent responds to Howie, like Saquon gives a little head nod, Hey, agent Howie responds, legal tampering. But if Howie gives a message and Saquon slips up and goes, yes.
Yeah, I like that.
illegal tampering because Saquon had direct. What are we doing, bro? Like, what? Honestly, it is the dumbest shit
It's goofy, man.
possible, literally.
Goofy
And
as
like,
hell.
you don't think like players are talking to like that's the whole thing. How is that not illegal tampering?
Yeah.
So like, if Jalen Hurts was boys with Saquon, you know they're texting in the offseason. Hey man, like NBA players literally and Bryce Harper does it all the time. Like, is that not part of it? Is it just the ownership and
fine,
GM can't have contact? I don't get it. It's the dumbest rule in the world.
It is dumb. It's like it's weird to expect that in this day and age with social media, communication channels completely open. Like,
absolutely.
If they go and tweet at each other on Twitter, is that tampering?
Yeah.
Like, it's weird, man. It's weird. It is.
But wheels up, Zach. Zach Wheeler is getting the opening day start at CBP against the Atlanta Braves next Thursday, Scotty. And I thought this was interesting because for the last, I mean, honestly, really since he's come into the league and been a starter with the Phillies, Aaron Nola has been the opening day guy. Even the last couple of years since Zach Wheeler signed here in Philadelphia, has clearly been the number one, has clearly been the ace. He's the number one in every playoff rotation for the Phillies. Aaron Nola has thrown first on opening day, and they get the rotation settled afterwards. Now, this year, Aaron Nola re-signs in the beginning of the offseason. Zach Wheeler gets extended a couple weeks ago, and now Zach Wheeler gets to start on opening day. And listen, it doesn't mean anything. And all it does is just put the rotation to normal from the jump. But I would like to take it as, what's the word I'm looking for? Not like a message, but like again, because it doesn't really matter if he plays game 1 or 2, but more of just a focus on winning, if that makes any sense at all. Like, my point is this, like, they've done this Nola thing simply because he's the homegrown
product,
player. Yeah. He's been throwing opening day, so we're going to, out of respect, we're going to give him the ball on opening day, and Zach will get it after that.
Yeah.
Now
the
it's
long-time Philly, right? The longest employed Philly.
And now it's like our ace is going out there on opening day against our division rival who we've knocked out of the postseason the last 2 years, and we're going to send a message on opening day. It probably doesn't have anything to do with that, but I would like to believe it does, because that is the most important thing for this Phillies team, is winning. It's winning each and every day, and Zach Wheeler throwing on Thursday or Saturday does not change that, but I like the fact that they're kind of going away from that little, just, I don't know, like that little tradition of, here you go, Knowles, out of respect, here's the ball on opening day. And God forbid Aaron Nola gives up 3 home runs in the first 5 innings against the Braves and we lose 9-2 on opening day. Sends a little sour taste. No, we're going to come out and punch Atlanta in the mouth from the get-go of 1 out of 162.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think it should set a precedent across the team, quite honestly. When it comes to different things, right? Like Christian Pache versus Rojas, right? If Christian Pache is playing better than Rojas, then he starts. It's
starting.
Simple. Then it's as simple as that, right? Like when it comes to deciding the lineup, who's going to be in the 4 hole, who's going to be in the 5, whoever's fitting that spot in the moment. It's not about money. It's not about allocation. It's about who's playing the best in each spot, who fits that role the best. And I think that's I think that's kind of what you're getting at. It's just that Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola, they are the glowing example of that, right? Yeah. And that's the way you make that statement day one. That it's like, you guys can have all the resumes, you can have all the money that you're earning per year, per game, whatever, all you want. It's not going to come down to that this year. It's going to come down to who's put in the best performance on the field.
Right. And that's what it should come down to. The best position to win each and every day. And I agree. And that's kind of, like I said, that little message, because I also think it's a little nod of respect to Zach Wheeler as well, because before Zach was here on the 4-year deal or whatever, the 5-year deal that he signed, Noel's been the guy here from the start. They give Knowles that nod. By extending Wheeler now, you're more than likely ending his career here in Philadelphia. And by that time, Zach Wheeler is going to be a Philly for 8-9 years.
It's kind of like he's a true Philly now.
Yeah,
in the exactly.
Contract,
so right, like he was a Met before.
It gives him that little Philly nod of respect. But the lineup card is the interesting piece, man. So let's get to that before, as opening day is about, what do we got? 13 days from now, or no, 10 days, excuse me.
The 28th.
Next Thursday is opening day for the Phillies against the Atlanta Braves. And this lineup looks like it's taking shape. They put out a card about a week ago that everybody took into account with Marsh out, that this would be the opening day lineup. Or no, it was Marsh's game back, I believe. And this would be the opening day lineup except for center field potentially. And to your point, that center field position has now become a point of interest for the Phillies because Johan Rojas has just not taken advantage of his at-bats in spring training so far. He's had moments. He laid down a beautiful bunt down the third baseline one time and hustled out a single and then stole second base. And you see the upside of him being in the lineup.
You see it.
But Christian Pache has definitely taken advantage of his playing time in spring training. The power's there. I think he's got 3 home runs to at least 2 home runs this spring training, which is something that I didn't think Christian Pache had in his bag a little bit.
He's got 2.
Yeah, he's outplaying Johan Rojas. And I think the incredible thing about it is Christian Pache was a guy on the border of not making the roster, the opening day roster. And it was like, okay, well, him or Jake Cave for this final bench spot, right? Yeah. And now it's becoming him or Johan Rojas starting on the 28th. Whoever it is, I don't have a problem with. I think they're 2 very similar players in a sense that they're both, obviously Rojas is faster, but Pache's got speed. They're both good in the field. Rojas is better, but Pache's got a good glove. They can both steal bags. Rojas can obviously steal a little bit more, a couple more bags with his legs and his his speed, but Pache is much more viable in the batter's box and able to get on base right now, like you said, where he might just find himself in the lineup. You still have a guy like Whit Merrifield who can platoon in there as well if need be, or he plays left and Marsh plays center. That could be the conclusion the Phillies come to as well, because I think like that would be my question, right? With Rojas, with the hope of Rojas ascending, I think we all got in our heads that Marsh is the new left fielder because Rojas is going to start in center.
Yeah.
But if he hasn't ascended to that, I don't think the simple solution is a replacement center fielder in Pache.
Yeah.
It could be as simple as Marsh going back to his regular position and the better bat in Whit Merrifield starts in left. Now, I know he wasn't brought in to start. But I think that was the point of him being brought in, right?
Having that option.
If Rojas doesn't pan out the way we were hoping for in the box, Merrifield can kind of be that guy. So I don't think it's as simple as, Pache or Rojas. I think Whit Merrifield has an option as well.
Yeah, and I think that when you look at Pache and Rojas as well, like another way they're similar is that they're both probably not everyday starters. So you can alternate these guys and go with the hot hand most of the time. And I think that's what they should do. Like, just because if you go out opening day and Christian Pache is starting over Rojas, it doesn't mean that it has to stay that way. It just means that Pache had a better spring training, right? So I think, once again, that's the idea here. Like, nobody is getting credited with a role that they haven't earned. And I think that's the way to go.
I would ask you this.
You're a playoff team now, right? You have to earn your spot on this team. It's not about contracts. It's not about expectations for this player. What are they supposed to be? It's about what you're putting on the field right now. And
let me ask you this,
that's the best way to go about it, man.
It has to be an issue for Johan Rojas, though. It's not a Phillies issue. The depth's not a Phillies issue. But the other guys, can probably stay. Witt obviously can be the utility guy off the bench, playing in different positions. Doesn't have to play.
He's got a role.
Pache, was on this roster when he came back from injury, not playing every day, but could come in and pinch hit. Rojas, at this point, with his youthfulness and not excelling in the box, probably needs to be playing and swinging a bat every day to get better.
Yeah, he needs the experience.
So if he's not playing, if he's not able to take grasp of that center field role, I don't know that he can just sit on the bench and platoon every couple days.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to solve his issues in the back.
Yeah, I'm not bringing this guy in to pinch it.
Right. So
that's not the better option.
Now, granted, you have him late in games for defensive purposes. You could pinch run him if you need a bag stolen and get a runner in a scoring position. He has value there.
Yeah.
But a young guy like him who's struggling to develop in the one area you need him to develop, he has to be playing baseball every day.
And that's
this is becoming an issue when it comes to Johan Rojas.
Because, like I said, these aren't guys that are everyday starters. And, like, simplistically, like, if you're playing a video game, right, you can just alternate them game by game. But these are human beings. Like, they get into hot spells. They get into cold spells.
Especially baseball players, bro.
Yeah, baseball players are the truth. So, like, you can't go back and forth, right? Because these are two young players. You might end up interrupting both of their growth and development, right? And that's the thing they have to watch out for there. So that's why you do have to kind of just go with who's giving you the most in that moment. Another guy that I just wanted to pinpoint, because I was reading up on the Phillies this morning and looking at expectations for this year. The big guy that Jeff Payson is circling in the Phillies roster is Orion Kirkring. He's the breakout star for the Phillies that Jeff Payson sees coming this season. Obviously locking up the closer spot, right? Like, is that something that you see as well? I'm just interested there because he's another young guy, right? Another young guy with some raw but great talent.
First of all, that is the hope and expectation, but I mean, that would be absolutely effing huge if Orion Kirkring can fill that closer spot. Now, it's not something the Phillies or Rob Thompson have done the last couple of years. They have not just locked in a ninth inning guy, and that's your spot, right? They tried it with Kimbrel, but Kimbrel pitched all over the place. Yeah, Kimbrel pitched in the 6th, the 8th, and he pitched all over. So even he brought in to be your everyday closer. When struggled, they moved him around. They've had Alvarado close games. They've had Sir Anthony close games. They've had Soto close games, which my heart does not need to see.
I can't deal with that, man.
If Orion Kirkring could come in and be a stud, dude, you got the dude out in Milwaukee. I believe he was Rookie of the Year in Devin Williams. Now, he was the setup guy because Josh Hader was there, but with Hader gone, I believe he's now their everyday closer. That, to me, I really do think it's an underlying part of an issue the Phillies have is, like, we have arms and, maybe statistically and ranking-wise, we're a top 10 bullpen in the league with Alvarado and Sir Anthony and these guys. But you look at, like, the Diamondbacks, who we lost to.
Yeah.
And they had that 1, 2, 3 punch every night in the same order, and it got them to a World Series, right?
Yeah.
I think having a guy that knows his role specifically as a closer is huge. And Kirkring with that upside, bro, throwing 100 miles an hour, a wicked, is it the cutter that he throws or the splitter that he throws? I'm forgetting right now, but he needs to throw his fastball more. I'll tell you that. Like, that's the one thing that pissed me off in the postseason. Is this kid would not throw 100.
He had a meltdown.
So you have to hope for the growth and development there, but the talent is 1,000% there. So you also got to remember, we get so focused game by game in the postseason, obviously, but this kid came up in, like, what, dude? Late August? Mid-August?
Yeah.
Like, you give him a full major league spring training, off season, regular season. That's going to pay dividends for him as well. But Orion Kirkring kind of becoming an everyday guy for the Phillies would be ginormous. Absolutely ginormous.
No, it's interesting.
The last thing I would throw to you, man, and we've talked about this a couple of times, is the cleanup spot. And a part of that lineup you and I were talking about where, maybe this is the opening day lineup. JT Realmuto is slotted in the cleanup spot. And I can't buy into it. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Rob Thompson and JT Realmuto and the Phillies have an understanding of what he can bring to the table.
What's the idea behind it, in your opinion? Like, what's the idea?
That's what I can't. That's what I don't know. Because here's my thing, right? We don't have a traditional cleanup hitter. We don't have a Yordan Alvarez. We don't have Ryan Howard on the Phillies anymore, right? We don't have that guy. Yeah. But we've rotated the 3 in and out. Castellanos, Bohm, JT have all played in the 4-hole for the Phillies and last year. And they've all made their runs. But when you look at upside, Costi gives you the power and the extra base hit ability.
Yeah.
Bohm can drive in runs with runners in scoring position. Over 100 RBIs last year, the team leader.
I thought it would be.
I don't think JT leads in the group of those three
Yeah.
in any area to be the guy there. So it is interesting. He's had a pretty good spring from what I've seen. I haven't, been watching every day, and they're not on TV every day.
Yeah.
But I've seen a couple games where JT Realmuto's in the RBI box. I don't see the upside of JT Realmuto in that position. I don't think he's the best guy to drive in runners in scoring position. He's definitely not the best guy when it comes to pop and power out of that spot. If you're going more for contact, Boehm or hell, even Stott would be a better spot there if you're going for contact. I don't want Bryson Stott batting cleanup. That's not where Bryson Stott belongs. I'm just saying, if that's the route you're looking for, those two would be more viable options. And if you're going for power, Nick Castellanos would be the more viable option. So I don't necessarily understand the JT Realmuto thing. Hopefully he's figured it out. Apparently there was something with his swing. They have tweaked this all season when it comes to swing trajectory and bat path. So we'll see what he looks like come opening day, but I don't know how long that's going to stick. And I think it's important the Phillies figure that out, because you and I have discussed this entirely for the last 2 years is what is your everyday lineup? Now, again, if you have a platoon in the outfield, things are going to change, but that should only be changing like
at the
8
bottom.
and 9 potentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Your 1 through 7 should be locked on this team.
And that's
outside of injuries and outside of a major drought in one of these guys. So
at this point, it's like they should know their role going into the season too, right? And it's like if JT's that guy, it doesn't make sense, man. I just feel like you could lock that tandem, that trio of Turner, Harper, Alec Boehm, and you could lock that in for the next few seasons. Like if you just allow Boehm to be that guy, that cleanup piece, and then by next season, like obviously we're not looking that far into the future. Like it is win now, but you can also win now. He's also arguably the better option right now.
He hit cleanup for you in the playoff.
Will be the better option going forward. I don't know. It is confusing. You just gotta kind of trust Rob Thompson to do what's right for the squad, right? Like he's earned that,
and he's earned that by a mile. But it is definitely the most confusing part of this Phillies lineup is that number 4 hole. So,
do you like them? I know we're gonna get into expectations maybe later this week or even early next week, but it's funny, man. I was just I've been reading up a lot this morning. Like, do you think there's a chance they could win the division? At plus 320, like, is there any chance for you? Because the reason I asked, I've thought about just throwing a little bit of change on it, just to rooting.
I know you. We've talked about this before, and I get plus 320. It is a different level of juice, right, when it comes to betting. But if you were hopeful that they can win the division, I would just take their win total at plus money, because it's not plus 320. It's still plus 100 or plus 110 on some books for them to get to. It's over 90 and a half the last time I saw it. So 91 wins. Now,
I would take
if you think they're going to win the division, they damn sure better be winning 91 plus games with Atlanta. Yeah. So I would take that instead of sweating out what the Braves do each and every night.
Yeah.
I think it's obviously possible. I think that the Phillies are one of the most talented and stacked lineups in the league. You have the 1-2 punch of Nola and Wheeler. You have Ranger. Hopefully he stays healthy. You have the bullpen. Hopefully they stay healthy. It's just a different beast. It's a different world. And 10 times out of 10, I'll take our world where we are not as consistent in the regular season or dominant in the regular season, but kick their asses in the postseason. But the Braves could probably win 110 plus ball games this year. I don't know if the Phillies are accomplishing that. So we'll see. We will certainly see kind of what level Atlanta gets to this year. But last kind of little piece of information to get to here on Monday's show. We got it at Joel Embiid. We kind of got multiple reports over the last couple of days and over the weekend, right? You got the Ramona Shelburne quote of he's not particularly close to coming back. And that's worrisome when it is, March 18th. And we were hoping for him to be back at the end of March or early April. So if he's not close, I don't know what that tells you. But then the other report comes out that he is starting to do some on-court things, everything but non-contact so far with weeks to spare. And that the plan is for him to come back with about a week or so left in the regular season and begin ramping up conditioning for the postseason. And I think that's always been the ultimate goal when it comes to awesome when it comes to getting Joel Embiid back for a playoff run.
Yeah.
Even if you got him just for game 1 of the first round, you take it. But obviously, a nice little extra boost, not just standing wise, and record wise, but to get his body and his legs back under him, heading into the postseason. So if that's the case, let's get after it.
Yeah. And
the issue is, can they stay afloat?
Yeah. It's the big question.
West Coast trip coming up.
The schedule is it's going to be ridiculous. But
did you see we're favored tonight?
Yeah, well, the thing is, Tyler Hero, game time decision. Okay. Jimmy Butler, game time decision. Okay. Tobias Harris, game time decision, which take that.
And the Heat played yesterday too, right?
Yeah, they played yesterday and they beat the Pistons, but they're coming into Philly tonight. So home game. Obviously Jimmy questionable. If Jimmy plays, I think that we'll see that kind of switch tides. Sweet. But I think they have a chance against the Heat tonight. The Heat, they've won 2 straight. They lost 4 in a row before that. So you have a chance, like at home. It's just if Jimmy plays, you're going to get his best shot, even with no Embiid, and it's like, goddamn. But yeah, it's a big question. What I would say is that I don't see them dropping below the 10th spot. And I know that's not like the goal, but it's reality. And I just don't see them dropping below even the 9th spot. Chicago, they're what? 4.5 games back behind us. The Atlanta Hawks are 7 games behind us. This is a tough stretch. It's not to say it won't get sweaty, it won't get close, because it definitely could, depending on how they play out this stretch. But I think ultimately when it comes to Embiid, man, it's like we talked about before we came on here. If there's no risk of re-injuring the same injury by coming back this season, then you do it. You let him play. And at the very least, like even if you get bounced the first round, whatever, at least you got to see Embiid with this group, with Buddy Hield, some of these other pieces, Nick Batum, so on and so forth. So you know how they fit around Embiid. Is Buddy Hield going to be a good fit? And mind you, like if you get 4 games of it, you're not really going to know that much more.
No, but I would tell you, if they lose in the first round, maybe it's
2 weeks to a month of Embiid with the team. That's a lot better, right? And the one thing I've seen floating around is like, if they get the 8 or the 7 seed, it's like, do you really want to play the Bucks or the Celtics first round? Well, the other end of that question is, if you're the Celtics or the Bucks, do you want to play the Sixers and Joel Embiid in the first round?
Yeah.
That's the real question there.
And I would just throw it out to people. What the fuck's the difference now between the first and the second round? Is it inevitable? Oh, we're going to play. Let's just, for argument's sake.
I'd almost rather play them knowing he's healthy.
We play the Pacers in the first round and have to deal with that offense and then play the Celtics.
Yeah.
Just give me the Celtics first round and let's see what the fuck happens.
With Embiid fresh.
Right. Like just... that doesn't matter to me. Exactly. Like you're not going to have a choice. But if I had a boo button, I would boo this man, Martian Lynch, over here this morning. Missed the playoffs altogether. Listen, you give me Joel Embiid.
Why would you like that?
Yeah, I don't.
Like,
maybe
fun
just
about
not
that?
have to deal. Maybe just not have to deal with it. Maybe not have to have
I
your
don't know.
expectations.
Like, the team
set
looks
up,
so
but
different with Joel Embiid. Like we cannot discount his impact on the game. Like even if he comes back, and I think the way to go about it for the Sixers, if and when he comes back, just ask him to come out and do the simple things first. Get acquainted with the game again. Get acquainted with the team. Come out, defend, rebound, right? Of course, we're going to ask him to score points. Like, we know that. But I don't think we should just come back to asking him to score 35 a night again, right?
Right.
He needs to get integrated with the team again. And I think that's the biggest thing for this last stretch of the season, getting Embiid back, is which of these guys, like, do you bring Campaign back next year, right? Yeah. He's not going to cost a lot. Do you bring Kelly Oubre back next year somehow? Do you bring Buddy Hield back on a new contract? Like, you need to see these things.
You said it before, and
it's Embiid, I know, man. You have a chance.
I know.
Hell no. See, if it comes to playoffs or Olympics, I know it might not be that way for Embiid, but like from my perspective, like, man, I want to see him in the Sixers.
It would be the playoffs, but I know times have been rough, and Kyle Lowry has had his ups and downs. Buddy Hield damn sure has had his ups and downs. Nico Batum scores 12 points or doesn't take a shot some nights. I need to see this team with him on the floor because I'm
intrigued. I mean,
there's
I get
no
it's been
real rhyme
down.
or reason for it because people are going to say, what are you, crazy?
Yeah.
I think this is a very dangerous basketball team surrounding Joel Embiid. I truly, truly believe that, man. I need to see the experienced leadership of Kyle Lowry out in the fourth quarter with Joel Embiid against the Boston Celtics. I need to see Buddy Hield spacing the floor and catching a pass from Joel off the wing off of a double team and knocking down a three. I need to see all of these things because I know it's one player. He was the best player in the world this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he had this team at almost a 65% winning percentage. And without him, they're like a 30-something% winning percentage. You get this man back with this group. And I promise you, like you said, teams are not going to be welcoming to seeing them early in the playoffs. Milwaukee, like, bro, I know it's one game, and I know Milwaukee kicked our ass in Philly a couple weeks ago, so you could say whatever you want. They went to Milwaukee with this beat-up crew and no Joel Embiid and should have beaten them.
Yeah.
You put Joel Embiid in that game, the Sixers probably win by double digits.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's like we haven't seen him in a while, and we just forget the impact he has. Like, for this team right now, like I said, if we just asked Embiid to come back, rebound, play defense, right? His impact on defense is so huge that could change a lot of these games. Like, you go back, right, of the recent schedule, and you look at some of these scores and some of the games that you played, man. If you just have Embiid in the paint when you lose to the Pelicans by 8 at home, does that make a difference? Is Zion not able to come through the lane and do whatever he wants? Same with Giannis against the Bucks. Giannis not able to come in the lane and do whatever he wants. It's a huge, huge difference. The rebounding, the lack of second opportunities for another team when Embiid is engaged in rebounding the basketball, it makes such a big difference. And this isn't even accounting for his offensive capabilities, his playmaking, his shot-making ability, his ability to bail an offense out when the shot clock's running down. It doesn't even take into account those things. And that's why I think we forget what this team looked like with Joel Embiid on the court, because the defense alone would be so much different.
We came on here and we had people in the comments every day excited about this team.
Yeah.
And thinking this team could actually make a run this year with this supporting
cast. It allows you to
and
play
since that time,
more, right?
Since that time, they've gotten even more help. There's a Kyle Lowry, there's a campaign, there's a Buddy Hield now, along with Batum and Oubre and these other pieces around him that were excelling. There's even more help, and it's like we don't care if he comes back. And I think that's a little ludicrous. Like you said to start, if there's any chance it further F's up his knee,
then no.
For the future.
Yeah.
No, you don't rush him back to play in the play-in tournament and play Boston this year.
I completely agree.
But if that's off the table, which I'm pretty sure it is, like, I don't think there's a rush.
I mean, that would be malpractice to do that. Like, to be clear, it would be malpractice to do that. Like that.
Don't do it, bro. I see that. Don't you do it.
Yo, I went to the game on Saturday, man, and I got to watch campaign like in warm-ups, and this man just dances the entire warm-up. Like, the entire warm-up, he just dances, even while he's shooting. And I'm just like, you know what? Like, the vibes might be all right if we could just get Embiid back. Like, I just look at the lineups. Like, real quick, I just look at the lineups the Sixers put out on the court. Nick Nurse is having to overcompensate for defense. He's having to take Buddy Hield off the court, and he's having to put guys like Nick Batum and Kelly Oubre in there along with Tobias. My God. But, like, you're having to put length and defensive purposes out there, right?
Yeah.
And you can get away with that with Joel Embiid. When you have Embiid in the paint, Buddy Hield can be in the game.
You can get away with everything with Joel Embiid almost. But
literally.
I'll ask you. I know you wanted to get off a minute ago, so we'll wrap this up here, and we'll get the March Madness announcement out in a second. But the last thing I was going to say, so like over the weekend, the Sixers are bringing in Kai Jones on a 10-day.
I'm interested.
Did you see that he's doing the 10-day with the Bluecoats?
I did. Yeah, I did see that. But they have him listed on the Sixers injury report, which is weird. So
Sean Barnard had a great quote tweet about it. Like, I'm not getting that at all. Like, I don't think, even though he hasn't played, I don't think there's a concern. I don't think there's any question Kai Jones could play well in the G League for 10 days.
Right.
I need to see what he can do, like, tonight or on the West Coast.
Literally. That's what I was
and if he
say.
looks absolutely lost out there, if he's getting torched on defense, if he's not an option on offense, then you know he is not going to do anything past these 10 days and you move on from that project. Yeah. But so what? He's going to play 10 days in the G League, look good. We're going to sign him for the rest of the year, and then he's going to look like he can't play up here and looks worse than
or not play at all.
Like, right. So I don't understand the 10-day contract playing with the Blue Coat. So that part was very, very odd to me.
I would like to see him up and just give him an opportunity.
Well, not to mention, you kind of fucking need it. You need almost any large body to fill space right now.
Especially even with Tobias out, it's like, I know we kind of look at this is like maybe a potential like stretch big or like a 5, right? But he can play 4 as well, a lengthy 4 and rebounding the defense as well. Like, you have options there. Maybe it's just the fact that he hasn't played in the league at all in quite a while. Like, maybe that's what it is. Right. I don't know, man. Maybe
you give him 2 games in the G League and give him 3 up here or something.
Yeah, I agree.
But to give him the full stretch in the G League would not make any sense to me.
Unless I did see Oubre's comments, though. Oubre vouched for him. I did see that. He played with him in Charlotte.
Right? Charlotte? Yeah.
He vouched for him. So I just think right now you should be exploring all options. I think that's the big thing.
How many Hornets reach it? Yeah, I know, man. It's tough. But at this point, it's either that or Robin fucking Lopez, and I'm good on that dumbass hook shot.
Yeah, I'm good on that.
Last thing here to take care of, almost an hour and a half in.
Sir.
Did not expect this again, bro. Obviously, Selection Sunday yesterday, March Madness is upon us, and maybe not everybody's into college basketball or into March Madness, but it is the best postseason for my money in sports. It's the most exciting weekend in all of sports for me, and the brackets came out last night. So we here at DSM, myself and Scotty, are running our bracket on the ESPN bracket challenge. Download that app, and then obviously we put the link out on our Twitter already. We'll drop it elsewhere, and I can also drop it in the description on this YouTube show if you guys are interested. It's $5 a person. And yeah, you get to compete against me and Scotty. And
fun, man. We'll talk about it on here.
Yeah, I said this to you before the show, man. I'm getting extra. I haven't officially filled mine out yet. I keep getting to my Elite 8 and Final 4 area, and I keep just exiting out of the page because I don't know what to do. I can't. I'm not. All roads are taking me to chalk.
Yeah.
All roads are 1 verse 1, 1 verse 2, 1 verse. I can't. And you know it. You know it's not happening, especially when you look at seeds like Tennessee as a 2, like Purdue as a 1, like Houston as a 1. You know these teams and their history in this tournament. Are they all going to just get past those issues in the same year? Like maybe Purdue gets past the issues. But does Purdue and Tennessee end up in the Elite 8 against each other this year as 1 and 2? I just can't find where it doesn't happen. I have my early round upsets. I have like an 11 seed getting to the Sweet 16. I have things. I don't see a world where it's chalk in the Elite 8 and Final 4 and National Championship.
Yeah, it never happens like that, man. It never does.
The National Championship, I know last year was an outlier with FAU, but for the National Championship, you get a lot of 1 verse 1, 1 verse 2, things like that. So I'm not necessarily saying that, but the Elite 8 for sure. I would say you're probably getting a 5 or lower seed in the Elite 8. And I'm not finding one yet. Yeah, exactly.
Who's it going to be?
I need to figure it out before I submit my actual bracket for our tournament challenge, man. But yeah, so let us know, guys. Obviously, send us a DM on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, anywhere, or drop a comment on the YouTube on this show, and we'll get to you there and get the information to you there. But for myself, for Scotty, for DSM, have a great rest of your Monday, and we will see you Wednesday morning.